Please.
谢谢. So I'm going to talk to you today about education. Once I learn how to press the buttons here. And I'm going to use the language of sports, of a game that I love especially, and one which I also teach at Stalford along with English, humanities, social studies, and other subjects. And that game is American football, to be more precise, American touch football. And here we have a photo of our students playing the game. This is at our beautiful field. Now, it won't surprise you that many of these students have a lot more fun on this field than they do in an English or a social studies classroom. They really want to learn how to play this game, and they really care if they are successful at it. But unfortunately, as you can see, no matter how hard their teachers try to make their lessons interesting and enjoyable, they often do not bring these same attitudes to their academic studies. If they did care about their studies as much as they do about playing games, then we would see a lot more of them on this stage, receiving awards for their outstanding academic performances. So, how do we help these students go from failure to success, from this one to this one? Well, that, my friends, is a very difficult question. I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you that one thing I have learned from my years of teaching that is very important in this respect is that education, like football, is a team game. The players on this team are parents, students, and teachers. And all of the players on the team have to work together, and each one of them has to do his or her part well for the team to have great success. If one player takes his eye off the ball and drops it, the whole team suffers. As you can see, these very unhappy football players. So what does this mean for teachers? Well, for teachers, it means that we must teach creatively and conscientiously. And we must show care and concern for each one of our students. Now, I often hear many of my colleagues refer to their students as my kids. And I think this is a very good way to put it, and it sort of reveals a very important insight about being a good teacher. Because I think that all great teachers must have at least a little bit of this feeling for their students. The same kind of feeling that parents have for their own children. Now, I try to keep this in mind when I'm teaching. And I can honestly say that I actually like and care about all of my students, even the ones who give me a lot of problems. And remembering this helps me to avoid dropping the ball as a teacher. But, as all parents know, no matter how much you love your children, they can drive you crazy sometimes. And believe me, many students drive their teachers crazy also. How much can you teach students who will not sit still, who will not listen, who constantly chat with their classmates or clown around, throw paper airplanes, students who rarely, if ever, study, students who rarely, if ever, put any effort into their homework or their classwork? How much can you teach these students? And the short answer is not very much. You see, teachers are not miracle workers. We do not have magic wands. We cannot help students who refuse to help themselves. And so, class after class, these students keep dropping the ball. And year after year, they fall farther and farther behind their more responsible classmates. And they let the whole team down, especially themselves. They make excuses for their poor performance. They blame it on the teachers. They blame it on the school. They refuse to take responsibility for their own misbehavior in the classroom, in and out of the classroom. But here's what a respected American professor, writing in a very respected American magazine called Psychology Today, here's what he has to say about this. The article says, education, failing students, not failing schools. Failing students are the problem. In other words, students have to be held accountable for their own lack of responsibility toward their studies. And this sign here says, don't complain about how the ball bounces if you are the one who dropped it. Students need to be reminded of this. And this is where you, the parents, come in. Because as important as good teachers are for a child's education, good parents are more important and more powerful. No teacher can motivate a child to take his or her studies seriously as well as his parents can. Here we see the carrot and stick approach. So here's an example. Father says, "That's great, Ling. Your teacher says you are working much harder and your grades have improved. Now you can have that kitten you've always wanted." And then, of course, there is the stick approach. Bo, if your teacher tells me one more time that you've been goofing off in the class, no more video games for you for a whole month. Now you'll notice that in each of these examples, the parent refers to the teacher. This shows that the parent and the teacher are communicating and cooperating, working together to help the student improve. And this is so important, I cannot tell you how important it is. Parent-teacher communication and cooperation, these are absolutely crucial to a child's success in school, especially when that child is not self-motivated to learn or to succeed in school. We see here parents and teachers working together. Parents need to get involved in their children's education. You cannot leave it all to the teachers and the school, because we need your help. And when parents and teachers do communicate and cooperate, sometimes the results can be quite spectacular. For example, I once had a high school student named Rachel. Rachel was performing very, very badly. Her score in the midterm exam was 20%, and this was typical. And then suddenly her father got involved. And her father and I started to communicate and to work together on helping Rachel to improve her grades. Much to my surprise and my great joy, Rachel scored 88% on the final exam. She came from 20% to almost 90% in the space of a few months because her father got involved in her education, and her father and I worked together. So you see, if we work as a team, we can do great things together. If we keep our eye on the ball. You'll see my number 23 here. He has his eye on the ball.